Kiyotaka Ayanokoji arrives at Advanced Nurturing High School and gets placed into Class 1D, where homeroom teacher Sei Chabashira introduces the unique point system. Each student receives 100,000 points monthly, 1 point equals 1 yen, to spend however they wish. Ayanokoji quickly befriends the cheerful and social Kikyo Kushida while observing the cold and isolated Suzune Horikita. In an attempt to help Kushida befriend Suzune, Ayanokoji orchestrates a cafeteria meetup, but Suzune sees through his plan and walks out. While Ayanokoji remains cautious about his spending, most of Class D lavishly burns through their points and slacks off in class without any teacher intervention, which strikes him as suspicious. When May first arrives, the students learn they've received 0 points for the month, and Chabashira drops the brutal truth. The point distribution is merit-based, and Class D's terrible behavior and academic performance have cost them everything, leaving them broke for an entire month. Chabashira reveals the school's true system. The 4 first-year classes are ranked by merit, and poor-performing students can be expelled if they fail exams. Class D faces a crisis when Ken Sudo, Kenji Ike, and Haruki Yamauchi refuse to study, despite the threat of expulsion. Ayanokoji and Suzune attempt to organize a study group, but Suzune's abrasive personality drives potential participants away, especially Sudo, who only cares about basketball. During this time, Ayanokoji witnesses a tense confrontation between Suzune and her older brother Manabu, the student council president, who threatens her over her misplaced view about independent isolation. When Ayanokoji intervenes, Manabu takes special interest in him and questions whether Ayanokoji scoring exactly 50 points on every entrance exam was truly coincidental. Despite the rocky start to exam preparation, Class D ultimately performs exceptionally well on the midterms, with several students ranking among the top scores in the entire first-year class. The midterm results reveal that everyone in Class D passed except Sudo, who missed the threshold by a single point, putting him at risk of expulsion. The mystery of Class D's sudden academic improvement is revealed. Ayanokoji had spent 15,000 points 3 days before the exam to purchase previous test questions from an upperclassman, a strategy that technically doesn't violate school rules. When Ayanokoji discusses the concept of equality with Chabashira, she flatly states that true equality doesn't exist, and Ayanokoji agrees with her assessment. To save Sudo from expulsion, Ayanokoji and Suzune pool their points to buy a single additional point for his score, allowing him to remain in class. In a shocking turn, Ayanokoji accidentally discovers Kushida's true personality. When he returns her forgotten cell phone, she reveals a selfish, vindictive side and threatens to accuse him of assault if he ever reveals her secret, forcing him into an uneasy alliance built on mutual blackmail. On July 1st, Class D's monthly point distribution is frozen due to an incident involving Sudo and 3 basketball players from Class C who claim Sudo assaulted them, while Sudo insists he acted in self-defense. With Sudo's poor reputation working against him, Class D must find a witness to clear his name before the hearing, or face both 0 points for the month and Sudo's expulsion. The 3 Class C accusers secretly conspire with their classmate Kakeru Ryuen to make the attack look more severe by having him inflict additional injuries on them. Class D launches a campus-wide search for witnesses with help from Class B students, and Suzune discovers that the quiet Eri Sakura was present at the scene with her camera. That evening, Ayanokoji and Kushida discuss an important principle of justice. When evidence is lacking and one suspect is known as a troublemaker while the other appears law-abiding, people will believe the law-abiding citizen even if they're actually guilty. When Class D approaches Sakura for her photographic evidence, she panics and accidentally drops her camera, then refuses all help when she believes she's broken it, terrified of getting involved in the case. Sakura, Ayanokoji and Kushida take the damaged camera to an electronics store where it's determined to be covered under warranty. When the store clerk requests Sakura's contact information, Ayanokoji provides his own details instead, and during this interaction, he deduces that the shy Sakura is actually Shizuku, a popular internet idol. At the hearing presided over by Student Council President Manabu, both Class D and Class C present their conflicting testimonies, with the initial ruling favoring Class C's version of events. After remaining silent, Suzune speaks up when prompted by Ayanokoji and logically argues that in a 3-on-1 fight, it would be impossible for all the serious injuries sustained by the Class C students to be inflicted by Pseudo alone. She then presents Sakura as a witness who captured the fight in the background of her photo shoot. However, while this establishes Sakura's presence, it doesn't definitively clear Pseudo of wrongdoing. Class C's homeroom teacher Sakagami proposes a compromise, suspending Pseudo for 2 weeks and the 3 Class C students for 1 week, but Class D rejects it. Realizing that one side is clearly lying, Manabu adjourns the hearing until the next day, warning that he has the authority to expel students if additional evidence or confessions don't surface. With the hearing delayed, Ayanokoji and Suzune devise an elaborate trap to expose the Class C students' lies. Kushida sends a fake message to the 3 Class C accusers pretending to be from their ally, instructing them to meet at the special annex, which leads them directly to a stairwell where Ayanokoji and Suzune are waiting with security cameras installed by Class B's Honami Ichinose. Using the video evidence and psychological pressure, they convince the Class C trio that continuing with their false complaint will result in their expulsion for malicious lying that involved the school administration, leaving them with no choice but to withdraw the complaint entirely. Meanwhile, Sakura faces danger when the electronics store clerk, who is actually a stalker obsessed with her idol persona, attacks her. Ayanokoji and Ichinose use phone tracking and security cameras to locate and apprehend the clerk before he can harm her. Afterwards, Chabashira reveals to Suzune that Class D is specifically designated for defective students and pointedly mentions that Ayanokoji is one of them. Despite being invited to join the student council, Ayanokoji declines and instead deflects all credit for solving the case to Suzune while he remains in the shadows, and together they commit to helping Class D reach Class A. A group of Class D boys, Ayanokoji, Pseudo, Ike, Yamauchi, and operation leader Hideo Sotomura, secretly plot to install cameras in the girls' changing room during a pool outing. Ayanokoji, aware of the plan, invites Suzune to the pool and warns her about the operation, effectively recruiting her help to stop it. While everyone enjoys the pool, Yamauchi disguises himself as a janitor and sneaks into the women's changing room to install hidden cameras. However, the plan goes awry when Manabu and students from Class C and Class A converge near the changing room, trapping Ike inside with no escape route. Desperate for a distraction, Sotomura alerts Ayanokoji, and Suzune climbs to the top of the diving platform to deliver an impromptu speech about Class D's determination to reach Class A, drawing everyone's attention long enough for Ike to escape undetected. Suzune then systematically removes all SD cards from the cameras, completely foiling the peeping operation. Afterwards, Ayanokoji confesses to Suzune that he deliberately used her and allowed the operation to proceed because he knew the boys would have attempted it behind his back anyway, so he chose to control the situation to minimize damage while teaching them a lesson. The first-year students embark on what appears to be a luxury cruise ship vacation, but darker forces are at work beneath the surface. Chabashira privately informs Ayanokoji that an unknown individual has contacted the school demanding his expulsion, and she offers to protect him in exchange for him leading Class D to Class A, though he suspects she's manipulating him and refuses her terms. Ayanokoji shares his suspicions with Suzune that the cruise ship's true destination, a school-owned island, is part of an elaborate test rather than a genuine vacation. Meanwhile, Class C shows signs of internal collapse when Mio Ibuki tries to confront Ryuen but is physically blocked by the intimidating Albert Yamada, prompting Suzune to observe that Class C might be fracturing from within. In a separate subplot, Arisu Sakayanagi of Class A begins her own mysterious investigation with her allies. Sakura nervously asks Ayanokoji on a date, but immediately changes her mind when the time comes, when Kushida discovers them together and Kushida confronts Ayanokoji, reverting to her dark personality and revealing that she's aware of his wariness toward her. The next morning, the school reveals the truth. All students must participate in a week-long survival test on a deserted island. Class D's leader, Yosuke Hirata, explains the survival test mechanics from the provided manual. The class starts with 300 test points to spend on food and supplies, and any remaining points at week's end convert to class points. The class loses points for injuries, environmental pollution, missed roll calls, and violence, while they can earn special test points by securing designated spots on the island. But only the class leader can claim spots, and each 8-hour possession earns 1 special test point. Additionally, if a class retains at least 50 test points by the end, they can guess another class's leader, with correct guesses worth 50 points and incorrect guesses costing 50 points. Class D decides to conserve points by roughing it, though the girls successfully argue for purchasing a portable toilet. While scouting for a suitable campsite with Sakura and the narcissistic Rokusuke Koenji, Ayanokoji spots Class A's Kohei Katsuragi, holding what appears to be the leader card while talking with classmate Yahiko Totsuka. The situation makes Ayanokoji uncertain. Class D establishes their camp by a river and designates Suzune as their leader because she's responsible yet inconspicuous. During a firewood gathering expedition, the group discovers the injured Mio Ibuki, and despite being from rival Class C, Class D allows her to stay. The class budgets 180 points for 2 daily meals, a tent, and the toilet, keeping 30 points for emergencies, but suffers an immediate setback when Koenji claims illness and withdraws from the test, costing them 30 penalty points. Ayanokoji and Suzune conduct reconnaissance on the other classes' camps to gather intelligence on potential leaders. Class B's camp near a waterfall operates similarly to Class D's, but with a superior location. Class A's camp is heavily fortified in a cave, and when Suzune attempts to investigate, Katsuragi summons security and warns her against starting a conflict. Class C's beach camp reveals Ryuen's radical strategy. He's already spent all 300 points, correctly calculating that his class can't be penalized if they have 0 points remaining, essentially turning the survival test into a vacation while he focuses on identifying other classes' leaders. That night, someone infiltrates Class D's camp and steals a phone from the girls' tent, escalating tensions. On day 4, Class D continues reconnaissance. Ayanokoji and Sakura encounter Ichinose at Class C's camp and learn that everyone except Mio has withdrawn from the test, confirming Ryuen's strategy. On day 5, Kei Karuizawa's underwear goes missing, and when a bag search is conducted, Yamauchi finds it in Ike's bag, but Ayanokoji takes it before anyone else sees. The girls demand a pat-down search, and when Hirata searches Ayanokoji, he finds the underwear but lies to protect him. Later, Hirata explains to Ayanokoji that he's willing to take the blame as the culprit because his high standing with Karuizawa means his reputation would suffer the least damage. Following the underwear theft incident, trust within Class D completely collapses, forcing the boys and girls to establish separate camps. Mio approaches Ayanokoji to discuss the thief's identity, and he tells her that Sudo suspects her, though he claims to trust her, a statement that may or may not be sincere. That evening, Ayanokoji notices Suzune sitting by the campfire and realizes she's been ill throughout the entire test, having spent the cruise in her room trying to recover, but stubbornly refusing to withdraw. The next day, while Class D gathers food in preparation for an incoming rainstorm, Ayanokoji asks Suzune to verify whether the leader card he saw Katsuragi holding was authentic by checking its appearance while fishing in the river, though even after seeing it, he remains uncertain about its legitimacy. During a confrontation near the water, Yamauchi throws mud at Suzune, and she retaliates by throwing him to the ground near Ayanokoji. While Suzune cleans up, someone steals the leader card from her possession, though it's later revealed Ayanokoji orchestrated this theft. Shortly after, someone burns the survival test manual, creating even more distrust and paranoia within Class D. Suspecting Mio is behind the sabotage since she's secretly from Class C, Suzune confronts her and attempts to retrieve her keycard, but Mio fights back and ultimately escapes with Suzune's leader card, immediately delivering it to a mysterious student via radio communication. Mio contacts Katsuragi through a ham radio to report she's secured Suzune's card, revealing that Class A and Class C have formed a secret alliance. Suzune is withdrawn from the test due to her worsening illness. On the final day, students pack up their camps and submit their guesses for other classes' leaders, with Class B notably choosing not to make any guesses. At the assembly, Ryuin reveals his masterstroke. He forged a pact with Katsuragi to transfer 200 of Class C's 300 points to Class A in exchange for information about Class A's leader, then deliberately spent the remaining 100 points so Class C couldn't be penalized for wrong guesses. Only Ryuin, Mio, and Spy Kaneda, who infiltrated Class B, remained in the test for Class C. Ryuin confidently guesses Yahiko Totsuka for Class A, Chihiro Shiranami for Class B, and Suzune for Class D. The results shock everyone. Class D wins with 225 points, followed by Class B with 140, Class A with 120, and Class C with 0. Back on the cruise ship, Ayanokoji explains to Suzune that he allowed Mio to steal her card because he had already replaced her as leader, meaning Class A and Class C's guesses were wrong, earning Class D 100 bonus points. He deduced Totsuka was Class A's true leader by analyzing Katsuragi's cautious behavior and noting he'd only seen the card's backside. Ryuin's true motivation for the Class A alliance is revealed. A contract forcing each Class A student to pay him 20,000 points monthly until graduation. In a final meeting, Chabashira reveals that the man who demanded Ayanokoji's expulsion was his own father, but Ayanokoji declares he will defy him. While he tells Hirata to credit Suzune for the victory to build her reputation and gain allies, the episode ends with Ayanokoji's chilling internal monologue. He sees all humans, including his classmates, as nothing more than tools to be used and sacrificed as long as he wins in the end.